Coming up on Locked On Bearcats, what is the standard now for the Bearcats football program? Is it just New Year's Six, or is it college football playoff? Plus, the success of the Big 12 this bowl season looks really good for Cincinnati. And finally, this week, some thoughts on men's basketball. All that coming up on Locked On Bearcats. Thank you so much for making Locked On Bearcats your first listen of every day. Today's episode is brought to you by NetSuite, the #1 cloud financial system to power your growth. Head to netsuite.com/lockedonncaa for special end-of-year financing on the #1 financial system for growing businesses. My name is Alex Frank, using my experiences from my days as a University of Cincinnati's Bearcats Media Sports Director, where I was a commentator for Bearcats football and men's basketball games. In addition, was the host of several live shows and podcasts on the Bearcats in our radio and television studios. I made a lot of connections with those in the athletic department and those who cover the team professionally, which I guess I'm one of those professionals now with this podcast. Anyway, bringing all of those experiences here to Locked On Bearcats. All right, so standards. What is the standard now of this Bearcats football program? And it's interesting because, as I mentioned yesterday, this off-season and the next season, 2022, is going to be a really interesting season. Because I don't know how the Bearcats are going to do. And there's a lot that they're defending. They're defending 2 straight conference championships. They're defending 3 straight appearances in the conference championship game in the American Athletic Conference. They are defending a home game winning streak that goes back to 2017. I believe I've lost count. It's so many. They won the final game in 2017, 6 games each in 2018 and 19, 7 in 2020, so that gets you up to 20, and then 7 this year. So they've won 27 straight games at home. And they're defending that. And that's going to be with a roster that is going to be vastly different, void of many key contributors from this year. Desmond Ridder, Alec Pierce, Jerome Ford, Kobe Bryant, Joel DeBlanco, Myjai Sanders, Sauce Gardner, Kobe Bryant, just to name a few. It remains to be seen what Josh Wiley and Leonard Taylor are going to do. But this is where, and I look at next season as the challenge for Cincinnati to remain a top 10 program. Because this season, I think more than anything, arguably more than last year in 2021, this might be the most important season in the history of Cincinnati football. Because remember, 2009, they were really good, and then they were a dud in 2010. They were forgotten in 2010. The country knew who they were in 2009, but then in 2010, they forgot about them. But this Bearcats program now cannot do that because they're moving to the Big 12. You can't let programs like UCF and Houston overtake you in the conference, because they're going to the Big 12 and then they're as well, and they're going to grab all the headlines from this conference, more so than Cincinnati. I look at this season as a challenge for Luke Fickell and this program to prove that what they accomplished last year and the previous 4 years is no fluke. Because if you're able to, over a 4-year span, stamp your identity as a program, and I do believe this program has an identity, I do believe there's a foundation, I do believe there is a standard, and I think given what we've seen particularly over the last 3 years, 2018 was kind of that, caught you by surprise year. Cat got you by the tongue. But the last 3 years, there were expectations within this program. There were expectations to be really good. And sure enough, the last 3 years, Cincinnati has been either the driver, the pole position to go to a New Year's Six Bowl, or to be in the college football playoff. They have been the torch carrier for the group of 5. not just in the American Athletic Conference. Now you come into this year and Houston's going to be good. I think we know that. You know you're going to have a team maybe like Coastal Carolina or Liberty or maybe UCF if they can reload, although they did just lose Dylan Gabriel to the transfer portal. So it is going to be a really interesting season as to what happens with Cincinnati. You know, are they what they were the last 4 years? Is a step back going to 9-3 or 8-4? Any other conference, that's good. But in the American Athletic Conference, if you go 8-4, you're just, another team. We'll send you to the Hawaii Bowl if it gets played, or the Fenway Bowl, or whatever. You know, the reality is, until Cincinnati joins the Big 12, they're going to have to continue to punch above their weight class and work twice as hard, as, let's say, a Power 5 program. Because they still don't have the resources that a Power 5 program has. Even though they might be talented. And I think with the play, if you see a lot of roles next year filled by guys who were second stringers this year on the depth chart, I think that's good because they play behind so many great players. And if you're Evan Prater, having learned from Desmond Ridder and watching his maturity, you can do that as well. And if you're Evan Prater and you have guys like Josh Wiley and Leonard Taylor to throw the ball to, then you can just develop receivers like Tyler Scott and Trey Tucker. That's what's going to be really interesting. The challenge of next year. But there is a standard. There is a standard within this program now. It's not like this is a flash in the pan. No. Because Luke Fickell has made this a destination program. He's going to be returning for his 6th season at a school that has gotten a lot of attention for what they've accomplished, given all the given all the obstacles that you face as a Group of 5 mid-major program, especially in college football. Luke Fickell is now going into his 6th season in a coaching career in Cincinnati that has been heavily, that has included many years where you don't know if he's going to be returning the next season. And when I say you don't know, the possibility that he could go elsewhere, or I should say, that has included, other teams maybe eyeing him for their head coaching opening. And he's here for his 6th year. And because he has stayed for 6 years, and because this program has won 2 straight conference championships, double-digit wins in 3 of the last 4 years, should be 4 straight, but has now been in the college football playoff, there's a standard. There's a standard within this program of not just winning the conference championships. I remember a mantra that was used, or has been used within the Bearcats athletic program, is class of the league. The Bearcats are the class of the AAC. That much is certain. Luke Fickell came in here in 2016 and said all he wants this program to do is be able to play for championships. Well, they are. They've played in 3 straight conference championship games. They've won 2. They played for a chance to go to the national championship. There's a standard here. Is it just going to a New Year's Six Bowl? I think it is more so that than the college football playoff, and I'll tell you why next here on Locked On Bearcats. Alright, so this is it. The putt to win the tournament. If you sink it, the championship is yours, but on your backswing, your hat falls over your eyes. Is this how you're running your business? Poor visibility because you're still relying on spreadsheets and outdated finance software? Well, to see the full picture, you need to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud financial system to power your growth with visibility and control of your financials, inventory, HR, planning, budgeting, and more. NetSuite is everything you need to grow all in one place. With NetSuite, you can automate your processes and close your books in no time while staying well ahead of your competition. 93% of surveyed businesses increased their visibility and control after upgrading to NetSuite. Over 28,000 businesses already use NetSuite. For the new year, NetSuite has a new financing program for those ready to upgrade at netsuite.com/locked. Head to netsuite.com/locked for this special, one-of-a-kind financing offer on the #1 financial system for growing businesses. netsuite.com/locked. Once again, thank you for making Locked On Bearcats your first listen of every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Alex Frank here with you, and something interesting that I've been thinking about is, I remember in 2009, 2010, look, I was 11, 12 years old, don't have the understanding of college football that I do now, didn't have the understanding of college football then as I do now, and I still don't understand college football. I mean, I'm knowledgeable about the sport, of course, doing this podcast, but I don't understand everything about it. There are some things I don't get, some things that don't make sense to me, but that's just the way it goes. But one thing I didn't understand, how Cincinnati could go from 12-0, 12-1 in 2009 and just be irrelevant next year 4-8. I remember I went to a Bearcats game in 2010. It was the final regular season game against Pitt. It was snowing like crazy. I almost got frostbite. And I remember there was nobody there. And I'm wondering to myself, wasn't this team just really good last year? How can you fall from almost playing for a national championship to 4-8 and being irrelevant, and then not getting back to that level for another decade almost? But let me tell you something, especially in this era, and I think in the BCS era too, it was I didn't feel like there was as much exclusivity, because even though the SEC won every championship from 06 through 13, at least you had some variety. Florida won a national championship. LSU won a national championship. Florida won 2, by the way. Alabama, they won 7 of 8 national championship games. Florida State also won 1. So there was not as much exclusivity, but there was some. Alabama did win 3. Okay. So, in an era where there's a lot of exclusivity, and there are only a certain amount of teams that get in the college football playoff, and for those listening who might think that this is going to be every year now, I'm here to tell you that it's not. It's not going to be every year. And if you're disappointed by that, think of the teams that are really good year in and year out that don't make the college football playoff every year. Hell, Georgia has been one of the most consistent programs in college football over the last 5 years. And they've only been to the playoff twice. Georgia's had some really good teams the last few years. And yet they've only been to the playoff twice. Ohio State has had some really good teams. They've only been to the playoff 4 times. Twice they got blown. Twice they lost in the semifinals. So even a program that is traditionally really good, like Ohio State, they've only made the playoff half the times that it's been, half of the years that it's been in existence. Oklahoma. See, this is what Alabama does to college football. And this is kind of what the Patriots do to the NFL. Alabama is so dominant. 6 national championships in 12 years. And 6 national championship games in 7 years. They might win their 4th national championship in 7 years. And that's overshadowing what several programs have done. Oklahoma, ready for this? They made the playoff 3 straight years with 3 different quarterbacks. And if any Oklahoma fan out there is upset at Lincoln Riley for leaving, why don't you give him credit for what he did? Taking the team to the college football playoff 3 straight years with 3 different quarterbacks. Oh, by the way, he took over for Bob Stoops, who is a legend in Norman. That's not easy to do. You look at Oklahoma, you look at Ohio State and the teams they have had. It is 4 teams making college football's playoff. That eliminates at least one Power 5 conference, cough cough, the Pac-12. B, it's going to keep really good teams out of it. Like, the college football, the regular season for college football is compelling, but damn it, there are teams that deserve to play for a national championship. Ohio State should have played for a national championship in 2018. Michigan should have played for a national championship in 2016. There are teams that have been really good over the years that either A, got blown out of the semifinals of the playoff, or B, didn't make the playoff at all because it's only 4 teams. Alabama understands how dominant you have to be. The playoff, undisputed champions, yeah, undisputed champions, yes, but also exclusivity. And you look at when we talk about the standard for the Bearcats football program being to a New Year's Six Bowl, for them, that's good. You know, if you are consistently getting to a New Year's Six Bowl, which is much more watched than other bowl games. Like, the casual college football fan is not going to say, oh, I'm so excited for the Fenway Bowl. No. If you mention to them the Peach Bowl, they go, oh, okay. If you mention to them the Rose Bowl, oh, okay. The Rose Bowl is one of my favorite games of the year. The pageantry and the Technicolor and just the product, the way the game is televised, the stadium is gorgeous. Yeah, that's a game I can get behind. But look at the. I'll read off these to you. Think of the SEC. They've made the playoff every year. Don't worry about them. They're going to get in the playoff every year. One team at least. Okay, so the Big Ten's made it 6 of 8 years. And they're a distant second-best conference. The ACC's made it 7 of 8. Asterisk, Clemson's made it 6 of those 7. The other team that made it, Florida State, in 2014, got whooped by Oregon. The Big 12, 4 of 8 years. That's the conference UC is going to. And the Pac-12 has only made it twice. Did I mention I was going to talk about men's basketball today? Yeah, I still might not get to that today. Again! And there is a game tomorrow against SMU. Maybe I'll do some bonus content this week. I don't know. This is what we get now when we're now a football school. It's like, yeah, I'm going to talk about men's basketball, but I keep finding other ways, because when you make the college football playoff, college football now matters in your town, in your city. College football is, major cities like Cincinnati, and the American Athletic Conference is so unique because the teams are in major cities. Cincinnati, Philadelphia, New Orleans, Dallas, Houston, Memphis. Yeah. It's similar to the Big East in basketball. Cincinnati, Chicago, Milwaukee, Philly, New York. So, where I'm getting at is, college football, its most popular teams are in smaller market cities. Towns almost. Tuscaloosa, Athens, Columbus, East Lansing, Ann Arbor, Baton Rouge. You look at the teams that made the playoff this year, only one comes from a major city. And that's the difference between college sports and pro sports. Unless, of course, you're the Green Bay Packers. And by the way, the Pac-12 has only made it twice to the college football playoff. Have not made it since 2016. I would put Cincinnati standards and rival them with any conference except the SEC and the Big Ten. Like, UC is going to go to the Big 12. They are going to elevate that conference because Texas and Oklahoma are leaving. The Big 12 is losing its card-carrying member in Oklahoma. And they may have had a down year this year because they didn't get to the college football playoff. because they had newer teams play for championships. But I will say this, the Big 12 and the success they had in bowl games, particularly after New Year's, that's an encouraging sign if you're Cincinnati. But it's hard, man, to make the college football playoff. It's hard. And that's why at a school like Cincinnati that is just announcing itself as a football school, and because of the roster turnover this year, just get back to a New Year's Six Bowl next year as a 11-2 school, 12-1 with a championship, something like that. That's good, man. That's really good. You make a New Year's Six Bowl 3 straight years as a Group of 5 school. UCF can't say that. Memphis can't say that. Western Michigan cannot say that. Cincinnati will be able to say that. Boise State cannot say that. TCU cannot say that. Cincinnati will be able to. And I know it's not the college football playoff, but keep in mind how hard it is to make that. When you look at teams like Oklahoma, Georgia, and Ohio State, who, yes, have been in the playoff multiple times, but Alabama's success overshadows that. But it's still very hard for them. Notre Dame has only made it twice. It took Notre Dame 5 years to make the playoff. And both times they've been in, they've gotten their doors blown off. It's hard, man, to make the college football playoff. The two teams playing for the national championship next Monday night, which, by the way, are the only two teams Cincinnati has lost to in the last 2 years. Alabama and Georgia, they might as well play every year for the national championship. It is that exclusive that college football, that the national championship game still features two SEC teams. The two best teams in the country all year. Alabama and Georgia. And we got that for a national championship. It's like all these crazy things can happen during the regular season, but come playoff time, the best teams will win. We'll talk about more about the Big 12 next. Maybe finally a little bit on men's basketball next year on Locked On Bearcats. Hey Bearcats fans, Alex Frank here to tell you about Get Upside, an incredible app everyone who buys gas needs to know about. My listeners are making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now using promo code SCORE and getting a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside by downloading the app for free and using promo code SCORE for up to 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making as much to $200 to $300 a month in cash back, and there's no catch. The cash back gets added right to your account. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code SCORE for up to 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank. That's code SCORE for 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank. Bet Online has you covered this holiday season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football continues its march through the college bowl season and the pro football playoffs. Bet Online remains your number one spot for all the sports action this season. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit using our promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. For basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports. So don't wait to take advantage of all the new amazing offers available. Bet Online, where the game starts. Once again, thank you for making Locked On Bearcats your first listen of every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Alex Frank here with you, and I mentioned the Big 12 and the bowl success they've had this season. It's been really good. They have 2 New Year's Six bowl wins. Again, it's hard to make the college football playoff. It's exclusive to apparently Alabama and Georgia. But what it's not, and what the New Year's Six is not exclusive to, it's not exclusive at all. You'll get surprise teams in there every year. Hell, this year you had Oklahoma State, Pitt, Michigan State, Utah, Baylor, Ole Miss. Those are 6 teams that did not play in a New Year's Six bowl game last year. That's really good. And of course, Cincinnati and Michigan, they also joined. But what I'm saying is, if you look at New Year's Six, and you look at championships, and you look at the quality of games the teams are winning. I know Oklahoma didn't play in a New Year's Six bowl game, and that's a down year for them. They still beat a really good Oregon team in the Alamo Bowl. By the way, bowl partnerships for the Big 12 significantly better than the AAC. And I'm not trying to disrespect the AAC or dismiss what it has allowed Cincinnati to do, but if you happen to miss a New Year's Six bowl game one year, you can still go to a really good bowl game. The Liberty Bowl, the Alamo Bowl, the Cheez-It Bowl. So, the fact that Oklahoma State, who is not experienced on this stage, they did win the Fiesta Bowl 10 years ago. I do remember that year. Mike Gundy leading the Cowboys to a Fiesta Bowl win. They had a really good team 4 years ago with Mason Rudolph and James Washington at the helm. But this Oklahoma State team was one of the best teams in recent memory. It might be the best team Mike Gundy's ever had. And if they're able to sustain that success, that is going to be instrumental for when Cincinnati joins the conference. Because it sucks, I understand it, and I'm thankful for this, but it does suck that Texas and Oklahoma are leaving. Because, yes, them leaving is the reason why Cincinnati, along with UCF, BYU, and Houston are joining the Big 12, but it sucks that they're leaving. Like, I would love road trips to Austin, Texas. Again, not a big city, but college football is not big city, major city driven, metropolitan driven. Oklahoma, Norman, Oklahoma. So, I would love road trips to those two schools. And be in a conference where one of the best rivalry games in college football is. You heard Michael Canardi, the chief marketing officer for the Cotton Bowl, on this podcast last week or 2 weeks ago, talk about. It should be a bucket list game for every college football fan. It's definitely on my list to go to the Red River Shootout. But there are still quality teams in this Big 12. If Oklahoma State can sustain their success from this year, that's going to be a marquee game. Boone Pickens Stadium's a tough place to play. And get Oklahoma State coming here, and Cincinnati students, and Cincinnati students are going to love making fun of Mike Gundy every week. I can't wait to see what that's going to be like. I don't want to say make fun of, troll, poke fun of him, whatever. That's going to be fun. All due respect, all respect due to Mike Gundy, by the way. And then if Iowa State is able to maintain, if they're able to, keep their program afloat, if they're able to, continue the success that they've had, Iowa State has been on the come up in recent years. Like, they gave Clemson a dogfight in the Cheez-It Bowl this year. West Virginia, that's going to be a rivalry reignited. And this is not just in football, but basketball. Oklahoma State's had some good teams recently. Last year, of course, they made the tournament. Cade Cunningham was the number 1 overall pick. And then you've got, or first round pick, Cade Cunningham. And then you got, Iowa State's had some good teams. West Virginia has had some good basketball teams recently. Of course, Kansas from a basketball perspective, Kansas is going to be a huge ticket commodity when they come to play Cincinnati. But strictly from a football, because this, college football is the highest revenue-driven sport in college athletics. And you're wondering if Texas and Oklahoma leave. Well, who's there for Cincinnati to play? Oh, there's a lot of teams. Just mentioned Iowa State, Oklahoma State. Kansas State won their bowl game last night, Tuesday night in the Texas Bowl against LSU, beating a Big 12 team. Hell, Baylor if there's any, the Big 12 doesn't play defense. Oh hell yeah, they do. Baylor held Ole Miss to 7 points. Now I will say, Matt Corral did leave the game early, but you still hold Ole Miss to 7 points. You're doing something right. The Big 12 championship game this year, which has seen a lot of offensive shootouts, was 21-16. Baylor didn't score in the second half and still managed to win the football game. Like, and playing a conference, and the atmosphere in Nippert Stadium this year for the AAC championship game was unbelievable. But playing a conference championship game in Dallas, in Jerry World, I can't wait for that. That's if the Bearcats go, which I think they will. And I just think the resources are going to come in, the exposure is going to come with it. You want to join the Big 12. It might be a step up. It might be a challenge from the AAC. Championships may not come that easy. They'll come because this program has been established. And you're going to a conference that, yes, some might say is the weakest Power 5 conference. For whatever reason. I understand that. But from a football perspective, there are going to be opportunities. You're going to play Texas Tech, TCU. You're going to play Oklahoma State. You're going to play West Virginia and Iowa State. And you still are going to get UCF, Houston, and BYU. You think I forget this too sometimes. Maybe you do too. Think of the teams that are coming with Cincinnati to play in the Big 12. That's also key here. And from a basketball perspective, Houston just went to the Final Four. Kansas is historically a blue blood. Texas Tech has had some good teams in recent years. Texas just won the Big 12 tournament. West Virginia, they're going to be really good. Iowa State has had their success. This is the Big 12 success in bowl season, 5-2, 4-2, not counting Oklahoma. And basketball, it's going to be a hell of a conference. And as far as men's basketball this year, listen. I'll say this. Because I don't have any stats in front of me. I'll have more tomorrow. This season so far reminds me a little bit of John Brannon's first season. But it is different. Because expectations were really high going into Brannon's first season. I remember at Team Media Days, there were questions being asked to players about getting to the second weekend. But what ultimately that season became about was the development of the team, because you had so many new faces, you had a new system as well. Like, it took some time for that system to get implemented. Ultimately, it didn't. But I think about this season. There weren't many expectations coming in. But I still felt like Cincinnati could make an impact, make a run at a conference regular season title. I don't know if they're going to go to the NCAA tournament. They're 10-4 right now, with a big game tonight against SMU. Schedule update, that's now at 9:30, and it's on ESPN, not ESPN2, ESPN. This year for Cincinnati, I think a lot of us got really excited after their performance at the Hall of Fame Classic in Kansas City, and rightfully so. You beat a really good Illinois team by 20, and then you go toe-to-toe with Arkansas, who might go to the Final Four this year. And it's like, okay, we're going to totally beat Monmouth. We might not beat Xavier, but we'll win the rest of our non-conference games, and it just doesn't happen that way. So, I understand if there's some frustration that this program may not be as good as you thought. Dan Hoare told me last week he thinks this team can go to the NCAA tournament. Maybe they still can. I don't know. But there is still, there's going to be some growing pains. You're going to take your losses to teams you should beat. Tulane's not very good. And you just got beat by them. You were down by 25 at one point. Yeah, you made a nice rally. And maybe the long layoff didn't help. But still. Brannon's first season, the expectations were there from the beginning. But that team, too, took its lumps. They took a loss to Bowling Green in the Paradise Jam. They almost lost to Valparaiso and Illinois State. Good God, that brings back memories from a stressful weekend. They lost to Colgate. They lost to Tulane. And then UCF and UConn in conference play. They took their lumps. But they still were on the fringe of the NCAA tournament. This program, too, has taken its lumps. Monmouth, Tulane, not beating Ashland by more than 14. Barely holding off Bryant. And I just think that, yes, this program, I like where it's going, but it still might take some time. You might have expectations. And that's fine. Maybe temper them a little bit. We'll be back more tomorrow with I don't know what. Because every time I say I'm going to talk about men's basketball, I end up not talking about it. So, it's a free-for-all show tomorrow. Maybe I'll even throw some baseball in there. Anyway, follow me on Twitter at Frankie_Natty with 2 N's, NNATI. Follow me on Instagram, AlexFrank9_, or email me at alex3frank@gmail.com. That's all lowercase, alex3frank@gmail.com. You can do all of those. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or email me. And until we talk to you tomorrow, make today a Bearcat day and have a great rest of your Thursday.